Good morning. Let's see if anybody's going to drop in this morning. Wow. So, I think we should start this out by simply saying thank you for dropping in. And then, secondly, all of the advice that we give is individually ours based on experience and based on what we've actually gone through. So, it's kind of what it is. Um, your mileage may vary. You may be totally different. But either way, good morning, Finn. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing well. Or it's morning for us. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Hello, Ricky. Nice of you to join us. It's good to see you again. I hope things are going well. Anyways, like I said, what we talk about and what we put in our blogs and what we give advice on, these are based on our personal experiences and based on living here for many years, based on being a property owner here for many years, based on our life here in the Philippines. So when we give you advice or tell you something is a certain way, that's how it transpired for us. And your mileage may vary. It may be different. There are local government units which are different than what you would call or we would call in the U.S. as federal law. You have federal law here. You have province laws, which is a local government unit. There's all kinds of differences, and sometimes you have to look at those things. Good morning, Hillbilly. How you guys doing? Blown anything up lately? I haven't seen you blow anything up lately. He has a very cute channel. He's definitely not the guy you want around running in your woods next to your house. But he is a very nice gentleman. With that being said, so what do we talk about when it comes to the harsh reality of retirement in the Philippines? Well, I guess the harsh reality is it's not as organized and effective as you would expect. Good morning, Gary. Hope you guys are doing well. Hillbilly Pro says just got back from a fireworks run. But the harsh reality is it's not often what you seem to think it is. The things that you would take for granted in your own country may vary here and can be vastly different. There's no social safety net here for foreigners. Well, that's not true. There is one social safety net for foreigners, and that is if you're married to a Filipina and she has PhilHealth, you can tack on to PhilHealth. And actually, I think there's a way that if you have an SRRV or an ACR card, you can actually apply to PhilHealth. But the benefit is so minimal, it's just not worth what you go through to it. So, in reality and effectively, there's no social safety net for you here. Also, it becomes increasingly obvious that there are people who want to live very simple lives and people who choose to be more complex lives. And when I say more complex, I guess I'm just being generous. There are people who live very frugally and they enjoy living a Filipino lifestyle. And then there are people who choose to live a Western lifestyle. And then there are people that choose a hybrid. They're all over. It goes from one point to another. And so your expenses will vary from one point to another. But so will the expectations of what's going on and how active you will be and how bored you will be. Those things can certainly happen. James is here. Good morning, James. Hope you're doing well. It's nice to see you. But what I am saying is that there's the reality of retirement or living here, because some people actually come here to work. They're digital nomads, and this is where they want to base themselves out of. There are some people who come here and work. In fact, in our complex where we live, we have several aviation engineers who live here and work for aviation maintenance companies here. So you've got those people, and then you've got the retirees. And I'm not really talking too much about tourists, but I should. And I should because tourists often get their impressions as to whether they will retire here. Because, one of the things that we always say, if you don't come here and experience it, then retiring here sight unseen is an absolute disaster waiting to happen. If you don't come here and spend time with the people that you plan to retire amongst, you're in for a rude awakening in many instances. I encourage you that when you look at other bloggers, and I mean, I'll go back to what I've said before, and I've said this many times. I don't dislike any bloggers. There are a couple I don't respect, but for the most part, we respect them all, and we remain drama-free and out of the drama that gets involved in it. But I encourage you to watch their blogs because there's always something that can be learned. Even a blind man can show you something new. So the same thing goes with all of these other bloggers. And I think that when you recognize that, you start to see life might be a little bit different. Good morning, Dari. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming back. And, so I caution you to look at some of the more detailed items. One of the things that we look at when we retire is where we're going to live, how we're going to live there, and what it's going to cost. So take a look at some of the places. Look in the backgrounds of these bloggers. Now, many of them you can't see much of anything. Many of them are always going to portray the absolute best, and some of them are even on green screens. But look for the finer points. Look and see, does that air conditioner unit actually sealed into that hole in the wall? Are those windows the old 20-year-old types of single pane, non-insulated glass? Is there a ceiling fan? Turn your monitor up as bright as you can and look at the walls where they live. And here's another reason why. Most construction here is concrete center block, is what we call it in the U.S. They call it hollow block here. And it's painted with the cheapest builder grade paint you can buy. And if you know anything about cheap, cheap latex-based paint, you're going to find out that when you spread that over concrete, it spreads unevenly and it stains easily. Take a look at all of that. James says, when I told my employer I was retiring early and moving here, they said they would just transfer me here because there was a plant here in my city, Nestle plant. But, but I said, no, thank you. Wow. Well, at least they offered you the opportunity, James. That's nice. Would they have paid you American wages there? That would have been interesting. Barry, folks, you know what? You should often go down to Barry's blog and you should make some comments and questions to him. He has a wealth of experience here. Great, nice guy. I met Barry at a meet and greet. He drove, 6-7 hours to get here. Him and his wife, wonderful folks. Anyways, my point is when you see these places for rent, or you see these places that people say, I only pay XYZ, take a look at it. Can you see the big gap underneath that front door outside? Can you see the type of material and the care? Take a look at the grout and on the flooring and stuff like that. That's going to give you an idea of what you get in that location for that price. And so you may want to reconsider a different location, or you may want to say, hey, you know what? That's just as good as I have it in my home country. I like that just fine. But at least be aware that you can take a look at that. Hillbilly Pro says $70 a gallon here. Finishing my investment house prices have got crazy. Yeah, I can tell you, although this was a while back, the last time we painted our Phoenix, Arizona house, I think we were paying close. I think we were getting 5-gallon jugs for about $200 and some odd dollars of a pretty good high grade paint. And that was interior. On the exterior, you know what? If you've ever lived in Arizona, you'll see you spray paint stucco, and then you roll over it if you want something that'll go a good 7 to 10 years. That paint's a little bit cheaper. But anyways, so the reality is taking a look at what it's going to cost you, what it does cost you, and how you want to live. You see all of these beautiful videos about the Philippines. But it's hard to live that kind of beautiful life without spending a lot of money. I mean, our budget, what our expenses were, we spent almost $6,000 last month. And we have a video that goes through our expenses in June if you want to go back and look and see how we spent it. And we did 1 week of travel here in the Philippines, and that's what it cost. So the realities are sometimes different than the picture that many YouTubers will paint you. Dari says, many vloggers give potential retirees and others a baseline, providing basic information. It's up to the individual to sort out what will work. They can't teach you tolerance living in the culture. Well, that's obviously a big part of it as well. It's just not just tolerance. I mean, tolerance is actually a great word, Dari. We generally define it as patience, but tolerance is. Excuse me. I have a bit of a runny nose tonight, this morning. I don't know why. Excuse me. Anyways, yes, and that's why we always say, if you don't come here and visit, if you don't come and look where you plan to be, or look and get ideas of where you would plan to be, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. You really and truly are. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not good. What it means is that you have to be an adult. You have to recognize what you can afford, and you have to figure out where you can live the way you want to live on what you have. I mean, we live in a particularly expensive city. Our primary home, our condo, is in Angeles City. Angeles City does have reasonably priced rentals. It does not have reasonably priced homes for sale. And when I say reasonably, I'm talking about you can easily drop $250,000 US for a base, decent home, and it goes up from there. Rents, there's, because there's old parts of town, new parts of town, different things, you can reasonably rent here. And there are some developments where you can actually purchase in the $150,000 range. But what tacks onto that is, as a Westerner, Westerners, we live in a disposable society. We buy plastic bottles of water, one use, throw them away. We buy so much single-use stuff that you can constantly go from place to place, different stores. So we tend to go to, not we individually, Arlen and I, actually, we don't go to the mall that much, only a couple, 3 times a month. But Westerners tend to go to the malls. Malls here are not cheap. You don't find street clothes. You don't find uke stores, which is secondhand clothing stores, at the mall. You don't find knockoffs at the mall, hopefully. All right. Although there's one mall in Manila that we know of that's notorious for it. There's actually a sign at every entrance door to that mall that tells you, we do not sell Levi's, Rolex, all kinds of, Nike, Adidas, blah, 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 all kinds of brand name. Yet when you go in the mall, that's all they have. So at least they're telling you nothing in here is real. But you won't find that. Restaurants here are not cheap. Arlen and I went out to dinner last night and with some friends, and we actually ate cheap, believe it or not. We ate dinner out for 2 people. We ate dinner for a little over, I think it was about 1,100 pesos with the tip. And that was 1 soda. Okay. Actually, no, that was 2 sodas and the meal. I had a chicken parmesan hoagie with a small order of onion rings, and Arlen had carbonara. And generally, we will get a 3rd meal out of whatever it is we go to eat. So, we'll have enough leftovers to create a 3rd meal at home. Last night, we did not. But that's a totally different story. In addition to that, but anyway, what I was getting at was we live in a expensive town, and there are cheaper towns to Looking, let me try and catch up on some of the comments here. Pyro says 7,000 islands. I can find a place that's right for me. If not, I'll move on. Yes, there are 7,000 islands, but not all of them have electricity. Not all of them have electricity all day, and not all of them have water. There are some islands that are relatively heavily populated, and they actually have to ship their water in. But yeah, there are a ton. Michael says what people need to understand is everything is a world market price. What you save on is the regulations, cost, labor, medical, eating out. This is where the savings kick in. And Mike is correct. Michael is absolutely correct. Labor and deregulation here, or enforcement of regulations, is very minimal. Medical cost, we have PhilHealth. Arlene has PhilHealth, but we self-insure our medical. And so far, it's been financially worthwhile to do it that way. Dahari says, my thoughts was anywhere but the U.S., so I took the plunge, but knew I would be retiring in a warm climate, number one. Yes, Dari, it's definitely warm. I'd say it's about 84, 85 degrees outside right now. It was super humid this morning. I get up between 3 and 4 o'clock every morning, and I went outside on the balcony about 4 o'clock this morning, and it was like, oh my God, so humid. It was crazy. But let's see here. James, no, I would have took a big cut, but would have made more than the locals. And that's where James worked for Nestle in the U.S., I think it was. And they actually offered him a job in the Philippines when because he was returning to a city in the Philippines where Nestle actually had a plant. And I asked him, would he have been paid by American standards? And he said no. Hillbilly Pyro says, yeah, warm year round for my health. Barry's real estate prices are going up 10% each year in the Philippines. Yeah. And, if you watch any of our home building videos, you'll find out we talked about the issue of home building and the issue of titled land. If we had been here 15, 20 years ago, buying titled land would not be nearly as expensive as it is now. The Filipinos have discovered that if there is a title to that land, it carries a significant premium. And that's why we always tell you, you know what? Just because they show you a title, that doesn't mean anything. You need to go down to the local register of deeds, wherever it is. Like, for instance, we built our home in Kitcheneroo, but the LGU, the local government unit for Surigao del Norte, is in Butuan, and that's where the register of deeds is. And we had to go down to the register of deeds to verify, number one, that title was true, number two, it was registered, and number three, it didn't have any liens on it. And guess what? When we got there, we found out, oh, well, the copy of the title they gave us, it didn't have a lien. But at the registry of deeds, there is a lien on that property. And so the seller had to take care of that prior to. And yeah, Barry's right. Barry, how long have you guys owned that property that you guys live in? You guys have a very nice piece of property and home. Hillbilly's like, I will knockoffs. I like knockoffs. Some are not bad. No, they're not. In fact, I like a lot of knockoffs because I tend to tear stuff up. Um, you know, if you walk around in any of the major cities and even in the province, shoes take a beating. The roads are crap. You're walking in dirt all the time. The sidewalks are crap. You know, if you're in a wheelchair or expect to be in a wheelchair anytime soon, be very careful about coming because the sidewalks are horrible in Angeles. They're horrible in Manila. Um, there's a actually a channel called Gadget Addict, and he follows around the traffic people that are enforcing parking because Filipinos will park anywhere. They will park on the sidewalk. They will park. Nobody, because it's so infrequently enforced, nobody, absolutely nobody, thinks twice about it. They will park. They will park halfway on the sidewalk, all the way on the sidewalk, and then the other thing that you run into on sidewalks is encroachment. If you, especially here in Angeles, but in Manila, we saw it quite often. You know, your property may end at a certain point, and from there, it's public domain, it's a sidewalk, and then the street. But many people here consider that sidewalk that's attached to their property as part of their property. So they'll put a sunshade over it. They'll put plants on top of it. They'll build a sorry store extension on top of it. Or they'll just use it as a dump site. So, you know, it is, you know, knockoffs are great. The only thing that, because of my leg disability, I'm kind of dedicated to a few kinds of shoes, but even some of those are sometimes knockoffs. Dari, electronics in the U.S. have gotten to the point of being disposable. Yeah, you know it. I mean, that's the whole theory that Apple and Nokia and Samsung and everybody else has had for years. Your $1,000 cell phone is disposable. You're willing to spend another $1,000. It's not like you can, you know, it's not like adding RAM to your computer. You got to replace the entire thing, and they become absolutely disposable. Computers themselves, people are, I can't tell you, people are just too lazy or not willing to get the knowledge on how to replace a motherboard or how to add RAM or put in a new monitor. They just buy a whole new system. Michael says the Filipino also buys single-use stuff also. Most everything they sold at the Sorry store is single-use goods. Yes, there's a lot of single-use goods. In Arlen's city, Kitcheral, there's only 2 stores you can buy a bottle of, it's a bad example, conditioner for your hair. They sell little pockets, single-use packets, okay? Single-use packets of detergent, single-use packets of conditioner, single-use packets of soap even. So, yes, it's a lot of single-use stuff. And it's because they're paying just a little bit more, I think, on single-use, but it's less of an expenditure than that day. And many Filipinos live basically a day-to-day existence in the province. Let's see here. James, you will know it's a knockoff just by the price. Yeah, absolutely, James. You're not going to get a Louis Vuitton bag for 75 bucks. Okay? You just know no matter how good it looks, it ain't real. And that goes along with watches, jewelry, everything else. I have a buddy of mine who's a jeweler, and he literally has a magnet with him at all times. And when he goes into places, he'll hold that magnet up to whatever it is he's looking at and see if it's, attracted to the magnet. Because if it is, then it's steel, or something like that. It's not gold. So they do. Pyro says he's from West Virginia. I can make my own way with nothing but a blade and a stick. And you know what, Pyro? If that's what you enjoy, then you'll just love it. You'll absolutely love it. As long as you can eat fish, as long as you can eat rice, and as long as you can make your way with nothing but a blade and a stick, gee, you might be just fine. You know what I would do? I'd consider bringing my own tent. The quality of outdoor gear here is somewhat lacking, of rugged outdoor gear. I wouldn't count on buying a good one here. Finn says, what are your thoughts on living in Cebu City, Iloilo, or Dumaguete? Okay, well, I'll tell you the truth. We've been to Cebu City. I was not happy there, although I didn't give it but 3 days to see if I liked it. I didn't think it was, I thought it was very similar to every other large city, and it offered me nothing better to deal with. Dumaguete, I wouldn't want to live in Dumaguete, although I don't knock it in any way, shape, or form. I think that with all of the bloggers that are coming out of Dumaguete, it's getting so much PR that many people are looking to move there. I think that the cost of living there is going to go up. And I think that it's not going to be an issue where they have as much immediate construction, and housing prices are going to go up. If you could have gotten to Dumaguete 5 years ago, and gotten in on it, and you're locked into a great location, home, and rent, Dumaguete may not be bad. I hear the traffic in Dumaguete is starting to get really bad now. And I hear that, and it's unfortunate. This is just what I've heard. I don't know this for a fact, but I've heard that the attitude that Westerners have brought with them to Dumaguete is starting to rub off on the local stores and restaurants. And by that, I mean, it's like, I'm not talking about the attitude that we have being arrogant, or the attitude we have of excellence or good service. What I'm talking about is the attitude of, I've adjusted to the Philippines and it's acceptable. There's a very popular coffee shop in Dumaguete. And a guy complained the other day, he went there and they didn't even have coffee to make coffee. What coffee shop would dare let itself not have coffee? The owner of that coffee shop has now adapted and adopted that Filipino mentality when it comes to that, I guess. Maybe he was just short. It's my understanding that they've cut back on Wi-Fi usage. That you can't just sit in there, drink 1 cup of coffee, and be on the Wi-Fi for 6-7 hours. Now, that might be because a lot of expats were taking advantage of it. I don't know. I got no idea. I do like Dumaguete's location. Iloilo. I have not been to Iloilo. We have not been to Iloilo. But from what I've seen of Iloilo, I would certainly, if I had not committed, would certainly take a look at Iloilo. They have a very progressive city government, it seems like. They have a very well thought out, currently, road system. There's some really nice developments going up in that area, but I haven't been, so I don't know how affordable they are, and I don't know how close you are to good beaches, which it's nice, but I mean, we live in Angeles and we're not close to a great beach. I mean, Subic is 45 minutes down the road. I wouldn't call that a great beach. I'd probably call it one of the worst beaches in all the Philippines. But if you go another 30 minutes north of Subic, you get into some beautiful areas. And that may very well be the way it is with Iloilo within 30-minute drive. So I wish I could give you more information, Finn. I really do. It's been in the 90s here in Hazy, says Pyro from the Canadian. Yeah, I hear you guys are getting a lot of smog coming down. An awful lot. 90s, yeah, it's West Virginia. It's summertime. It's going to be hot. Dari says, I would bet there's a certain amount of dumping going on in relation to some consumer products. Yeah, I would think so. I definitely would think so. I mean, when you look at what's going on in China right now with respect to major manufacturers moving out and leaving, yeah, I think so. Now, I'll tell you, we are seeing a lot more Chinese products advertised here. I don't know about in the U.S., but we are seeing a lot more diversified Chinese products. They're getting very heavy into construction. They have 3 or 4 luxury brand vehicles. I don't know how good they are, but we see them advertised. I've actually sat in one of them. Barry says 4 years. The owner was the principal of Pernique High School. Ah, okay. Well, it's a beautiful, I've seen your yard and some of the inside of your home, Barry. It's beautiful. What a great spot to retire in. Michael says the knockoff price is the same price as the original back in the early 80s in America. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, buy knockoffs. I have to laugh. My wife wanted made in America products, but not. Yeah, I guess, it's all a matter of, I don't care where a product's made if it's got a quality thing. Ruby is here. Good morning, Ruby. I hope you're having a great day. How's things in Australia? All China-made crap, but better quality than what you get in the Philippines. It's possible, Michael. Homesteader, welcome. Where would you recommend to live in the Philippines if you want to live a healthy lifestyle with good restaurants, gyms, nutritional supplement stores, nice condos? Well, I guess you've got some some possibilities for sure. I would look at, if you haven't been, I would again go back to what we said before. If you don't come here and look around, you don't know what you're going to like. So the first thing I would take a look at, I would consider Mactan Island over in Cebu. It's actually just across almost like an intercoastal waterway to Cebu. You've got good restaurants in Cebu. You've got decent malls in Cebu. I would not recommend Angeles as a healthy lifestyle, to be honest with you, although I have a lot of expats. I mean, Angeles has great condos, nutritional stores, great restaurants, but is it a healthy lifestyle? It's only going to be healthy if you make it healthy. Okay? That's going to be up to you to make it a healthy lifestyle. If you're not bringing home bar girls every other night, well, you're doing better. If you're exercising, you're doing good. Is there a lot to do? There is a ton of activities around Angeles. We've got hiking at Mount Pinatubo in one direction. You've got hiking in Mount Arayat in another direction. You've got, excuse me, Subic and Zambales going north. Beautiful hiking and beaching. I mean, a lot of stuff like that. So, I mean, it just kind of depends. But I would certainly take a look at Cebu in Mactan, if that's your piece of tea. I hear the traffic getting from the island into Cebu is miserable. But I think they just opened another bridge here recently. In addition to that, I would recommend looking at Angeles City. We don't have any manufacturing here in Angeles, so air pollution is not nearly the problem that you're going to get in Manila area. Now, we still do have a lot of jeepneys and vehicles with bad exhaust, but that's going to be in practically every city. And it depends on the type of people you want to be around and the other amenities. You know, we have casinos with live music and imported live shows and performances. We have restaurants here with live music, dueling pianos, the whole 9 yards. So, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff to do. The Hari says, I approached the vitamin kiosk in the mall. The young lady quoted me a price 2,000 pesos for a medium-sized bottle of Centrum. She also sells singles. Well, let's see here. 2,000 pesos. That's actually pretty reasonable price if it was real Centrum. Vitamins are kind of gotten expensive. I give my daughter money every year, and she packs me up a big, or packs us up a big Balikbayan box and ships it here. And she includes vitamins because she goes to Costco and picks them up. So I'm not sure what the note price is. SH, welcome. Mike, in one of your videos, you say you wouldn't drive after having one cocktail. Does the Philippines have DUI laws? Absolutely, they have DUI laws. In fact, people got pissed off a couple weeks ago that they had a DUI checkpoint on Fields Avenue one night, and it backed up traffic considerably on Fields Avenue, because Fields Avenue is already backs up pretty heavy. But yes, they have DUI laws. How do they test? I do not know. I've never been stopped. But yes, there are DUI laws. Pyro says, my plan to travel there has taken me over 2 years. So far, I have my investment house finished and ready to sell, and I'm having my land timbered, and my retirement will be fine. And you know what, Pyro? That's great. You know, we always tell people, plan. I started planning my retirement long before I met Arlene. And I had no idea that I was going to retire in the Philippines. I started planning my retirement 25 plus years ago. And when I say started, I mean got serious about investments, brokerage, dividend bonds, dividend stocks, 401k, savings. Okay? It's never too early to start planning. And if you plan, you can have a great retirement. There's no doubt about it. Barry says Iloilo City is really nice city. Good government and the festivals are really fun. Well, there you go. And Barry would know. So there you go. Michael says, look at Diplog. This is the area I'm moving to. Okay, that's another area. I don't know anything about that area. We can tell you a lot about Mindanao or where we live in Mindanao, which I would never recommend as somebody's primary retirement area. And we can tell you about Palawan. We can tell you about Boracay. We can tell you about Bohol. And hopefully before the summer's over, we'll be able to tell you about maybe Leyte and even northern Luzon. I'm looking at both of those areas. Pyro says Iloilo does look nice. It really does. Filipino I can never say that name. Filipina Lianshu's channel. Welcome. I've run into her once or twice. I subscribe to your channel. And I get to watch it here and there. I always look at your videos. And anybody that's interested in a very simple Filipino life, you should take a look at hers. That'll give you an idea. Dahari says, I'm in Duma. My interactions with locals is you give respect, you get respect. Everyone is kind and they're glad you're there. Yeah. You know what, Dari? I don't get the drama that's going on down there, and I don't want to go into it. But I got to tell you, I've had a long video relationship watching bloggers down there, and I've always found all of them to be very respectful and reasonable until this most recent little dust up. And quite frankly, you know what? It is what it is. And I'm not going to take sides or anything like that. I'm just going to simply say they all benefited from the views. So, Pyro says, I like the hills around the port there in Toledo City. Okay. Saying hello. Toledo has a nice place too. Yeah. Lianshu, where are you at? What specifically are you? Aren't you in the? For some reason, I want to say you're somewhere over there near Cebu. Michael says Finn Publishing, also Diplog, is not in the typhoon belt and has one of the longest boulevards along the ocean. How nice! I bet that's really nice to look at. Lianshu says had lots of vloggers there like Filipina Fantastic and Filipina Elated. There you go. There you go. Have a nice day. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for making it. During COVID, the prices went up because of logistics and the price of gas. Logistics is fine now, and now the profits are through the roof because prices stayed the same. I think that's probably like that all over the world, to be honest with you, unless you get into a regulated communist country or something. So I don't know. The yard was what sold me on the house. I like jungle living. It is very nice. I got to tell you, Barry's got a beautiful yard. You should watch some of his videos. Really great guy. Homesteader, I will tell you, find a place and to send back boxes by container ship from your home country. Just be careful when you do that. If you're going to fill an entire container, that gets expensive because you're going to definitely pay some import fees on what you're sending. Matthew, good morning. Seems like you need $2,500 US monthly and plenty of savings and moderate vices to live upper middle class lifestyles in most large cities, except BGC and Makati. I can only speak to Makati Angeles as big cities that we've lived in. Years ago, when we lived in Makati, we would not have been able to live on 2,500 then. So I doubt you can now the way we live. But again, it depends on what is your definition of a upper middle class. You can certainly live on that much money as a Filipino upper middle class lifestyle. And it depends on your vices, and it depends on your expectations. But yes, Matthew, it's gotten much more expensive, I think. Michael says, ship it to yourself. Tagaytay is a great place to live if you like cooler area. There you go. Ruby, location on where you want to retire depends on what your priorities are. Is it cheap living, close to medical amenities, nature reserves, beach, mountain living? Excuse me, need to work out, pros and cons. And you know what? That's right. Ruby interjected something there that I forgot to mention, but it is very vital, is medical amenities. How reasonable is the medical care where you're thinking of going? And not just how reasonable is it, but how modern is it? All right. I'll give you an example. There are only 13 what's called a super high field MRI units in all of the Philippines. There are only 13. And 6 of those 13 are in Manila. There are only 4 256 slice CT scan units in the Philippines. Last I looked at the radiation regulatory records that they have here, which are public records. Look for modern equipment. Okay? You can have a great hospital with great staff and really good doctors. But when you need access to modern technology, you have to keep that in mind. Today's weather is 73 to 85 with some rain. Yeah, we're supposed to meet some folks out at the pool later on today. And I don't know whether it's going to cloud up or not, but it'll be a nice day for it. Dahari says, regarding vitamins, $36 is not cheap. Walmart sells the same thing for $9 US dollars. I thought it was funny. Amazon's becoming my go-to. Yeah, Dari, for sure. That's why we send money to my daughter. She goes to Costco, Walmart, Target. She fills my little shopping list. I send it to her, and she'll take 6 months to fill it up because it's when she can get out. My daughter's a full-time student, part-time. She works at the Humane Society and at a veterinary surgical center, part-time, and and she's in a sorority, and she's 21 years old. So, yeah, she's a kid, and she's still enjoying that part of her life, trying to mix her school, work, and social life together. But she's a great daughter. But she may take 6 months to fill that box up, depending on where she's going and what she remembers when she gets there. There you go. Have a nice day. I thought CDO was a nice place to live. You know what? I've heard CDO is nice. I've never been there. Maybe somebody here has been to CDO and knows more about it. My first 6 months, I do plan to make it to Iligan and CDO. Well, yeah. And let us know when you're down in that area. There you go. We have a place up in Kitcheneroo, not far from Butuan. So if you find sometime during that period of time you're going to be anywhere near there, let us know. And if we can arrange a time to sit down and have a drink or coffee or something like that, we'd love to meet you. Pyro says, I'm a country boy, grew up living a province lifestyle. I would saddle up my horse and ride for days as a child, trapping, hunting, and fishing as I went. Well, then you may very well find the Philippines incredibly fun, I think. BT and Betty in the house. Hiya, BT. How are you guys doing? And if earlier I was telling you there's plenty of hiking around here. You can go. Arayat has hiking, and BT and Betty live out by Mount Arayat. They'd be able to give you more information on that. And it's in the northern part of Cebu province. I'm in Danao City, Cebu. Well, there you go. So there's another resource for you. If you're interested in Cebu, you could go to Lianshu's channel and ask her directly questions. And she'd be happy to respond, I'm sure. She's growing her channel and she's doing well. I thought there was a maximum you send to the Philippines being worth what you are sending. I'm trying to think how much we get. There is, you know what? There you go. Have a nice day. If you send us an email, I will look it up. So you can send what's called a balikbayan box. Theoretically, you should be sending that in the name of the Filipino representing it. And in the U.S., when you send a balikbayan box, they're going to ask you for that person's passport number, and you get X amount of value tax duty free. I know a lot of people that use balikbayan companies to ship boxes and pay no taxes or import duty fees and don't declare that they're sending it as balikbayan. But I will look it up and get you the information if you send me an email. A container ship's not the whole container. I have a family member send all the supplies you need for 6 months, get a year's supply at home. Yes, you can do that. You just have to be careful about the things that you send, okay? Some of the things that you send. One of the things, I will tell you one of the things, I'm not bald, although I'm mostly bald. I shave my head every day. My daughter sends 216 packs of razor blades from the U.S. to me a year because, honestly, razor blades here are really expensive. The MRI that comes to my town on a tractor truck and is here every month or so. Pyro, I'm very familiar with those. Far more familiar than I will get into. But that's going to probably be a 1.5T, and it may even have a name on the side of it called Shared Services Incorporated. Shared Services is one of the largest provider of mobile MRI services in the U.S. But yeah, I'm very familiar with those. 111 degrees in Phoenix. Do you miss Arizona, senor? TARDIS, what I miss is the super low humidity. We could get in our pool, and it could be 110 plus degrees. And we would get in our pool in the backyard. And when you get out of the pool, you'd get cold for about a couple minutes if you didn't dry off with a towel. The air is so dry that as it evaporates the water off of your skin, it creates the same effect as what kind of air conditioners are those that use water? An evaporator is what it's called. That's right. All right, evaporative cooling system. It literally acts just like that. I don't miss going out to the parking lot at the mall and getting in my car and waiting for it to get under 90 degrees. But, I do miss the heat, the dry heat. Pyro says, stupid question. When you get there, immigration wants to know your plans on where you're staying. I can tell them my hotel for the first week, and after that, I don't know where. And that's fine. That's all you have to do. Give them that address for the first week. Don't even tell them it's for the first week. This is where I'm staying, but I'll be traveling around. And you'll be fine. That they'll be absolutely fine with that. Raul Leon. I've got older siblings that built obnoxious homes in our ancestral province. They are 2 to 3 hour drive from the provincial hospital. They are not having to reconsider their decisions due to their health. There you go. Again, we're getting back to the harsh realities of retirement. We're getting older. We're absolutely getting older. And as we get older, our medical needs increase. And that's a harsh reality. And it's something you have to consider when you go somewhere or move somewhere. Todd, finally caught you live for the first time. Well, Todd, welcome. How have you been? It's good to see you. We're not always, I'm going to start routinely doing a either Sunday night or Monday night blog routinely. I have to sit down and figure out which one it's going to be, and we're going to get Arlen in here to help answer questions as well. And so I'm debating, like right now, it is Saturday night in the U.S. And eventually we're going to do, I think, a Sunday evening, like say 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. On a routine basis. But that's what we're planning on doing. My first place of residence will be in Angeles, retiring in December, waiting on 2 Social Security auto deposits, then off to the Philippines. Yeah, I actually didn't start getting Social Security. I didn't start getting Social Security until I'd been in the Philippines for a year. Okay? We decided, I put it off and then finally said, you know what? I'm not going to get any much healthier. I may as well collect what's due to me while I can, because I'll never live to see all the money that I put into it. And, when you get to Angeles, let us know, because we love to meet with our subscribers. We love to meet with everybody. I think, again, going back to what we said before, there is so much to be learned from everybody, even when they have a difference of opinion, even when you don't agree with their opinion. There's always so much to be learned. And I think that that's really important. Let's see what we got next here. Michael says, we can send a box door to door from Michigan to Diplog, Philippines for $85. If it fits in the box, it ships no matter the weight. Yeah, we used a company, or we still use a company called Atlas, which, it's kind of funny because there's a big Atlas moving company in the U.S., which is different than the shipping company. But we use a big company called Atlas, and for their really big box, this thing is huge. It's like $110. Their standard box is like $80, and it ships door to door. If you have 3 or more boxes, they will actually come to your house in Phoenix. In Phoenix, they would come to your house and pick it up. In Wilmington, where my mom lives, we actually had to take it to Myrtle Beach. They would not come up. Myrtle Beach was the closest place to get it done. Regarding razor blades, yeah. I mean, razor blades are expensive here. It's ridiculous. There you go. Container being the worth amount. I already have my first buy-in box ready to ship. The last two will ship in November to arrive at the end of February. Uh-huh. Swamp coolers. Yes, Dari, that's the word I was looking for. Swamp coolers. Absolutely. And we had them in Phoenix. I never had one, but a lot of homes in Phoenix have swamp coolers. I never had one. Ricky says, I used to have my Filipino friends send me cigarettes to the U.S. in the mail because they're a lot cheaper there than the government said you can't send cigarettes in the mail anymore. Yeah. And you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure that, here they have military APO boxes, and even them, you cannot send cigarettes back to the U.S. I watched your videos on land ownership regarding financing. I've heard that the Philippines discriminates based on age. Is it difficult to get financing as a 62-year-old, or must we pay cash? You know what, Todd? I can't give you an answer to that. I would love to give you an answer, but I'm not going to lie or make shit up. We paid cash for our land. So I don't know. I know I've seen people my age finance cars, and depending on where you buy a vehicle, like for instance, our Toyota Fortuner in 2020, brand new, was $1.6 million. Are you buying land that's more than $1.6 million? Maybe that would give you an indication as to whether banks would do that. Also, keep in mind, financing homes here is much different. Here, you don't get 20 and 30-year mortgages. Or, you know what? The mortgages that I've seen out there are not 20 and 30 years. Generally, the mortgages that we see out there are between 7 and 12 years. But there may be a lot of others. I didn't look into it a lot because, quite frankly, it's not something that we needed. Good morning, John. Hope you're doing well. No problem. We're just rambling along. Pyro wants to know, how are the PI smokes? Well, you know what? They're definitely not as smooth as a tobacco as in the U.S. And if you buy cigarettes on the street, even in an official Marlboro Light box with a Philippine tax stamp on it, those are definitely not Marlboro Lights. We buy ours, buy mine, Arlen doesn't smoke, buy the carton at a major grocery store. And I paid for 3 cartons yesterday. I paid, because I just stocked up, wait. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's see here. JJ's. I paid 4,650 pesos for 3 cartons yesterday. And that is going to be exactly $84 for 3 cartons. So it's a terrible habit. It's nasty. I wish I could quit. I highly recommend. And you know what? That could have been an extra $84 for somebody's budget. 8 p.m. catheter. Wow. 8 p.m. in Montana. How's the weather in Montana? Is it gotten warm yet? Todd says, I'll be there in September with my asawa, and I look forward to meeting you. Absolutely, Todd. Would love to meet you. In the small town outside of Diplog, I have had the PNP police stop by my in-laws' house to check on me as a foreigner in the area. They wanted to put me on a watch list for safety. They wanted to know. That's interesting. We've only had a couple of interactions with the local police in our province. My wife actually knows a couple of them, one or two of them. I think one of them may have been the father of one of her classmates when she was young. And then one of the policemen there is actually one of her old classmates. And our only interaction, they know us, our only real interaction with them is during our construction. We had a house. If you watch our house building videos, we bought a house that was about 2/3 done, and then we 80% demolished it and rebuilt. And as we were doing that, as we were digging for some extended patios, we were moving a piece of concrete, which we thought was a piece of concrete trash, but it was actually a covering, and we found a gun and ammunition under it. And we called the police, turned it into them. They made note of it. They knew whose it was because apparently the previous owners had differing political views of the mayor at some point in time back then. Ruby says, hillbilly, that's quite common when you go through immigration of another country. It's not just the Philippines. When you travel as a tourist, immigration has the discretion of action for your itinerary. They actually do. And we have found, and we've had friends come, we've found that as long as you tell them where you're primarily going and then telling them going to travel around, don't know exactly where I'm going to be, we've never had a problem up until when we got a permanent address here. But we've had friends come over from the U.S., and that's what they've said. Cool, your MSI share matches the computer I built. That's neat. Michael says, just in case. Ruby, it will be the first time I've used my passport, new to me. Oh, wow, Pyro. Then they may ask a few more questions than normal because it's the first time on a passport. It's possible. Doc, Mike is down to earth and good person to meet up. Thank you, BT. I really appreciate it. We use Carl's Express out of Chicago. Okay. I don't care they ask. I just don't know my plans after the week one. And that's fine. You can explain that to them. The things I will be sending that are expensive or hard to find: body lotion, toothpaste, hand towels for sweat, extra tablet, face cleanser, deodorant, shoes, shorts, shirts, razor blades. Absolutely. If you're addicted to certain brands of body lotion, you may have difficulty finding them. But there are a lot of, at Watson's, at South Drug, at Mercury Drug, they have a pretty good selection of lotion. Toothpaste, most of your box stores like S&R and Landers have a pretty big variety of toothpaste, but not all the different subtypes of toothpaste. Hand towels for sweat, get them here. I mean, bring some so you're not in a rush to get them, but you can buy hand towels dirt cheap here. On the street even, microfiber hand towels on the street. Get a pack of 10 of them for like $5. Extra tablet. Well, I don't know that they'll have a big issue with that. Face cleanser, deodorant, shoes. It's all about what you like and what you don't. Given the track record of high interest rates, I would never borrow money here. Yeah, their interest rates are not cheap from what I have seen. I don't know because we've never paid it, but it would be expensive. Home finance is about 5 years. I've seen condo financing. I've seen condo developers selling condos offering 5, 7, and 12-year financing packages. Not all of them do. Privacies are looking at the bank repo houses there. Yeah, and that's becoming a bigger thing. Somebody told me the other day that banks' vehicle repossession rates in the Philippines are 42%. John says here in the PH, cigs have went up 3 times the amount they were 6 years ago. Yeah, I can remember cigarettes being half the price that they currently are. And I wish they'd go up even more to discourage me from smoking now. Yes, Matthew, it is time to stop smoking. You mean 1 pack of cigarettes is $9? That's almost like Las Vegas expensive. Cathers is going to the PI this year. Is there a vape shop or vape pens there? Yes, there are. Here in Angeles, there are lots of vape stores and vape shops. You may not be able to buy exactly what it is you use now. A lot of vape brands that my friends use in the U.S. are not available here. So if you're thinking about that, make sure you bring some extra coils. Lex, welcome to the channel. Most people in the USA don't realize that 20 or 30-year mortgages are not common outside of the U.S. In Canada or Australia, you need to refinance at the prevailing interest rate, 3 to 5% for 30 years. Yeah. Again, it's not something we're familiar with. We've always paid cash for homes except our U.S. homes. Mexico, we paid cash. Here, we paid cash. But certainly it's different everywhere. I have cut my smoking by 75% down to 10 a day. That is great, Pyro. Summer starting. Indeed it is. Strife is justice. $2.80 per pack. Yep. My mom pays $9 a pack in Tennessee. Wow. They have a sin tax on it in the Bible Belt. Yeah. It was, I haven't bought a pack of cigarettes in the U.S. in so many years, I couldn't even begin to tell you. A sin tax. How about a greedy tax, says Dari. George Huchan, are you still in Angeles City and planning to move soon? Yeah, we own our place, George, here in Angeles City. We don't plan to move. Were we traveling more? Sure. Now that we have time, we're traveling more. Arlene will be in Mindanao for her father's birthday in July. And then she'll be there for like a week and a half, back here, then home for 3 weeks. Then we'll both be in Mindanao for fiesta is what they call it, in August. And then we're looking around at some other places. We've already been to Bohol and Thailand, both this year. But we have a home in Mindanao, and then we have the condo here, so we're not planning on moving anytime soon. The local governments know it's a go-to as far as taxes for an option of not raising gas. Yep, it is. Shout out to Book Dano. Nice to see you. You're here. Good morning, Mike. The old Cano, Robert. Yes, sir. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. Michael's that may be a hint that your area may not be safe if the PNP are worried. That's possible. Stock up on lotion and shampoo in BGC. I don't know. I don't know if BGC is going to be any cheaper than anywhere. But certainly lotion and shampoo in the U.S. can be shipped here much cheaper. Fresh Aloha. Oh, whoop, there we go. I subscribed to your channel. I'm moving to Omak Leyte in 3 weeks from the U.S. Have you been there yet? Any suggestions? You know what? I have not been there yet. I'm trying to figure out how I screwed this up. I have not been there yet. Actually, though, we met another guy, another blogger at a meet and greet, Mogman, Mogman, and his wife, and they live in Leyte. And we were thinking about going, maybe doing a trip to Leyte later in the year. So I have no real ideas about Leyte, but you know what? There are other people that are in the channel currently. So if you wait a minute, one or two of them might be able to tell you some good information on Leyte. Todd, average lotion in S&R big bottle was like $2,200. Wow. I think Arlene orders hers on some shopping website or something like that. I don't pay attention to it. Michael says, I will tell anyone coming back into the U.S. you have no rights in immigration. They can confiscate your phone, go through it without a warrant. SCOTUS says it's legal. Actually, I don't know, Michael. I do know they wanted me to open my phone for them once, years ago. And I said no. And I told them point blank, I have patient information on here, on this phone, and it's HIPAA protected, and you need a federal warrant. Otherwise, no. But I don't know how that would work for other people. Don't bring back any nude photos of anyone you meet in any country. Yeah, that would probably be a good idea not to do that. Bookum Dano. Ricky Last. A bad investment, in my opinion. Bad investment. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Dano. I've made a machine that converts 220 to 110 to run my electronics when I'm there. Do you have any 110 outlets in your condo? No. All of our, this is what we found so far. Number one, all of the outlets are going to be 220. We have two drop down transformers in our home that we have multiple outlets on, because we did bring some 110 electronics here, in particular a couple of cooking electronics that I dearly just can't live without. And then finally found out, when we first moved here, you couldn't buy an Instapot in the Philippines. Then for a long time, you couldn't buy an Instapot that was 220. Now you can get them left and right, no problem. I also have an electric griddle that I used to use quite a bit. They're great to cook pancakes and eggs for a large group of people in the morning for breakfast. But what I have also found is that every single computer and phone electronics that we have will plug right into 220, and the power supplies are all Apple products, all Samsung products. And I shouldn't say all, but all of the ones that we have, they power drop and convert that 220 into 110 on the internal power converter. So my laptops have no problem with it. My phones have no problem with it. My desktops have no problem with it. Just came in from yard work. Bad thing about buying repo anything. The bank wants full retail, no discount. I would think so. You know, Robert, I would think buying a repo vehicle, I don't know. I have no experience with it, to be honest with you. Raul says loans in the Philippines are not made to people older than 62. You can get around this by getting a mortgage at PNB in Los Angeles, California, or New York. That's maybe possible. I don't know. Reality, I am alive, happy, joyous, and free. You know what, Dano? Isn't that the best way to be? Happy, joyous, and free. Alive helps, that's for sure. James Gilbert says, I feel safer in any place in the Philippines than many places in the USA. You will find out they don't have 911 in the Philippines. I think it was just an FYI that the PNP was asking. And that's very possible, you know. That's very possible. You never know, James, Michael. I just don't know. Dari says, Michael, you're not required to give them your password to get into your phone. They lie. And that is what I have been told also. Barry says, I've never had them go through my laptop or phone so far. They only wanted to go in my phone once. And I don't know, maybe they thought I was trafficking Arlene or something like that. And she had a green card. I don't understand that. Washington, D.C. cigarettes are pushing $15. Barry says, we had the electrician put in 220 outlets in the kitchen, so no problem. There you go. So let's get on, and I want to talk about one other subject. I know we've been here a long time already, but I do want to cover one more subject, okay? And that's the value of the person that you get into a relationship with. You know, if you come here looking for love and you sit around and you meet this woman of your dreams, and as will almost always happen, although not always, but very frequently, there's going to be an age gap relationship difference. What are you going to do for her? Do you think that you providing a roof over her head and free food and clothes is sufficient? And when you pass on, she's on her own? I want to tell you that I find bloggers that are in those situations where they don't work to lift that maturity and lifestyle of that Filipina or Filipino partner up for the future. I find that to be disgusting. I find it almost as disgusting as leaving your minor children with no support or guidance leaving the Philippines. You need to invest in your partner. All right? You need to absolutely make her value better than the day you met her. You owe it to her. You need to either educate her, help educate her. At a minimum, you need to make her aware of how to manage her own finances. You need to be able to leave her better off than where she was. And I can't find any other thing to say than that. To me, that's vitally important. Those of you, and I don't think anybody in this live stream is that way. I really and truly don't. I know most all of you, only a few of you have are new today. But Homesteader asks, can I make it in the most expensive places to live in the Philippines on 4K US dollars a month? No, absolutely not. Not the most expensive places. Absolutely not. There are housing developments in Manila and in Makati where homes start at a couple of million US dollars. 4K a month, you might be able to get yard work and a maid. No, you can't do it in the most expensive places. But 4K a month will get you very reasonable accommodations in multiple places. All right. You can probably find a good beach condo at 4K a month. You can certainly find, you can live in Angeles City on 4K a month. But 4K a month is not just living. You know, Ruby pointed out, and it was obvious then, you know, what about healthcare? What about convenience? What about all of the things that go along with that? You know, how are you? Is it 4K a month just for existing? Or is that going to cover your health care, your transportation, everything else? You can do it. Certainly you can do it. We see people that live for under $1,000 a month. And, you know, you can do that in the U.S. I mean, you can live on Kensington Street in Philadelphia for under $1,000 a month. Okay? You can live in Flint, Michigan. You can live in Detroit for under $1,000 a month. They're rat holes. They're horrible, horrible drug-infected, robbery, criminal, destitute areas. You can live there for $1,000 a month. So, I mean, you can live anywhere on any amount. It just depends on how you're going to do it, homesteader. I have a lot of friends that live here in Angeles that live very good lives on 4K a month. Okay? So, I didn't mean to take that into an extreme, but yeah. Catheter says, saw you on Mike's journey, been watching you since. Good route info. Well, thank you, Catheter. Thank you. Mike and I are very similar and then very different in certain respects. I enjoy dialoguing with him. I really and truly do. Dari says, my take is don't be a simp. Take it slow. Remain the captain of your ship. If married, there's nothing wrong with setting her up and educating her and taking care of herself. You bet. You know what, Dari? I totally agree. You need to be in charge of your destiny, just like you contribute to her destiny. You need to be able to be the captain of your ship. But you know what? There's always somebody under the captain that guides the ship while he's asleep. Okay? You've got to do something for your Filipino partner. You have to. And if you're not going to, then you're a wiener and you deserve whatever you end up with. My wife will be richer than I am when I'm gone. You know what, Todd? So will mine. That's for sure. There you go. Can you check something? In Korea, they had cigs called IQOS. They are heated cigs, 5% of the carcinogens of a regular cigarette. Your lungs will feel the difference in 2 weeks. You know what? I've never heard of them or seen them here, but I'll keep an eye out for them. Thought maybe the Jordans are importing them into the Philippines. They may be, but I just haven't seen them. Home of the zombie apocalypse. Yes, it is, Dari. Kensington Street is absolutely, um, you know, I love it when I get these people that tell me there's so much trash and garbage and this and that in the Philippines. And I sit there and say, you know what? Have you ever been to Kensington Place in Philly? Have you ever been to Flint, Michigan? Have you ever been to South Detroit? All right. Or East Chicago? Or 14th Street in D.C.? Have you ever been to the areas around the LAX airport? Look, there's trash and problems everywhere. Now, if you're, and no offense to anybody, but if you're coming in from different places that don't have it, it's just because you haven't seen it where it is. Mike Ross, hi. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Welcome. Mike says, Philippines is cheaper, but far from cheap. If you're a single guy living in less than 2K, you're making sacrifices for sure. Again, it just depends. Mike, it's strange, but it does depend on what you consider to be a sacrifice. People live under conditions I would not live under, and they're very happy that way. And that's great. That doesn't mean that just because I wouldn't live that way, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be happy, or that it's bad. There you go, Mike's journey. Several vloggers hate him because he spoke the truth, and obviously the truth hurts. You know what? I believe that all vloggers are about views, and I believe that creating drama is what generates views, and you will see that many people do that. We don't depend on YouTube for a living. We really don't. Everything that we make, which is very little on YouTube, goes to our personal charities in the province. In fact, right up there, buy me a coffee. If you want to donate, feel free. If you don't worry about it. It's no big deal. We don't need the money to live. Okay? But there are YouTubers out there that absolutely do need the money to exist the way that they do. So, it is what it is. Have you ever been to East Cleveland? Scary. No, I've never been to Cleveland, period. I think once I flew through Cleveland years and years ago. I disagree with Mike. I live very well in less than 2K US dollars. Some people do, and if you're happy living that way, if you're happy with the way you live, then you're living very well. And it depends on where you live. Can you live the way you live now in BGC for under 2K? What if BGC is the only place you're happy? Then you see where you reach an impasse. But I believe that you live where you're happy and you live how you're happy. And they're both intermingled with each other. East Cleveland looks like cities and series of The Walking Dead. That's funny. That's funny. The newest Walking Dead spinoff is this City of the Dead, I think it is, debuts this month. Mike wants to know, where does Dari live? Dari, I enjoy the condo life, pool, gym, convenience to everything, including the airport, ferries, rural areas of Duma. There. And if you like it and it's to your satisfaction, what more could you ask for? You see, that's what I'm saying. Some people, if they set their expectations where they are, and then they visit areas and find places that meet those expectations, then they're golden. It's the perfect combination. It really and truly is. So, I mean, to me, that's great. It's really great. My only issue with Duma is I worry about where it's going. I would hate for see it end up like another Angeles, to be honest with you. Let's see what else we got here. Detroit's a wasteland. You can fit San Francisco, Boston, Manhattan, and the city of Detroit has more stray dogs than people. I don't know. San Francisco has gotten to be horrible. The Tenderloin district there is just, I don't know. We used to fly up to San Francisco for weekends from Phoenix. We used to catch round trip Southwest to Oakland for $79 round trip. Go up to San Francisco for the weekend. Had a great time. Not anymore. That series could be filmed in East Cleveland. Honestly, they could just drive up and start filming. That's pretty sad, to be honest with you. Your health should be the most important thing. You want to be around to enjoy the income and life in general. And Daria's right. They have one of the best, actually the best nursing school in the entire country of the Philippines is in the Duma area, Suleiman. In fact, this year, this year is the first time they ever had a student not graduate but not pass their boards once. One time since their existence. That's it. They are renowned for their school of nursing. Okay? The Tenderloin is like Kensington Street. Yeah, it is. San Fran was beautiful when I was there in the 80s. Pier 39, Chinatown. I know. And so much of it is shut down. Over on Pier 31, there used to be a place called Neptune's, world famous. I mean, been there for years and years and years. All right? Shut down. Almost all of Pier 39 is almost all shut down. Chinatown is literally policed by the merchants of Chinatown. They just don't take much shit there. But Union Square, Nob Hill area, all of that, it's just gone to shit. Absolutely gone to shit. I used to fly into Oakland via Legion Air 1 to 2 times a year. The Bay Area, year after year, is getting worse. Yeah, Mike, it really is. I mean, my daughter lives in the Sacramento, goes to school over near Sacramento. And, she hardly ever goes into San Francisco. Hardly ever. Cleveland claim to fame is the movie Christmas Story and its river caught on fire. Okay. I know the Christmas Story. I don't know about the river. That's a different story. Raul says, I have a condo in Makati, round trip anywhere Southeast Asia, 150 and less. Makes day trips to Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, Korea possible. Yeah, I haven't been able to get round trip anywhere for $150. I think Thailand cost us, you know what? Bangkok might have been close to 150. We just, I wouldn't look at Hong Kong anymore. I just don't want to deal with Hong Kong anymore. I've dealt with them years ago and don't want to deal with that place anymore. But I guess, there are places you can go. That's for sure. But Thailand was a little bit more than 150, I think. But I can't remember. Pilot training is another asset in Duma area. They do it in small planes to bring people in from various places. Yeah, we have a big pilot school here in Angeles. We see them flying all the time in the trainers. All the time. It's sad. Groups do the bust in stores. Yeah, the snatch and grabs and stuff like that. But America is America, and just is what it is, I guess. I mean, I don't want to bitch about it because you got the Philippines, and what I was trying to compare was people that complain about the Philippines. There's just as much to complain about there. So I don't think it's, a comparative situation. I really and truly don't. Oh, man. You know what, folks? I've been on here an hour and 45 minutes. Arlen is going to beat my butt. All right? I really appreciate it, you guys dropping by. If you'd like to donate to the channel, buymeacoffee.com, Mike and Arlen. We'd certainly appreciate it. And we hope our videos are entertaining and informative, and we will certainly look forward to the next live, which I think will be next Sunday night, U.S. time. Next Sunday, 8 p.m. is what I'm shooting for. But we'll announce it a little later. All right, for sure. Thank you so much for dropping by. Thanks for participating. And everybody, I hope you have a great day. Thanks.